Hello and welcome back to Podcasting as Praxis. I'm David, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm James, my pronouns are they and them.
I'm Jamie, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm Rob, mine are he and him.
I'm Alistair, my pronouns also he and him.
We're only an hour late to start recording, which is,
Yeah, full house, but barely.
mediocre by our standards.
Yeah. We've been
on a good run of starting at like quarter past the hour recently, but an hour past the hour's
it's unusual. Well, not that unusual, but reasonably.
We're bringing our recording schedule in line with our release schedule.
It's given us just cause to wage war on Bill Gates, at least, so...
Yeah.
As if it was fucking lacking.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is going to get us reported, by Lord Walney, but, we are starting the Butlerian jihad on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's a shame,
all
but
robots
it
must
has
die.
to happen.
It's not a shame at all. It's just, it's good for us,
Yeah. Our golden path is through destroying every computer and every machine.
Yes, exactly.
And then we could all become a weird worm with like a face and human arms for some reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but my solution to both those problems is to get rid of all sand, because if there's no sand, there's no silica, and if there's no sand, there's no sandworms. We can all just live happily on the planet of pebbles.
Would you love me if I was a worm? No, but I would love me if I was a worm.
Okay, Leto, chill out.
No more sand, I have decreed it. It'll be pebble beaches from now on only.
I do like the noise that pebble beaches make as the tide rolls in and off of them, so...
Exactly, it's better than sand,
Why don't I hate sand as a drop? That's really annoying me.
I was going to say,
right
episode
now.
1 had something going for it,
I love to go down to the sandy beach and just do a load of spice on the shoreline.
the Anakian jihad.
Gotta love the sound of like raw sewage gently lapping against the stones.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Just imagine humanity shitting on a pebble beach forever.
Arrakis on Tweed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
exactly.
Rob, take us back to the real world and give us some real misery.
I started mentioning Man with
Sad, wistful eyes.
John Woodcock, so let's start there. Well, we can say that. Well, it turns out that once a man with
no firearms,
George Galloway gets in Rochdale, it's. But that's
Rob,
yeah.
fuck off.
No, George Galloway gets in Rochdale, and all of a sudden, we as a society have to become very worried about all this hatred and division and mob rule that we're seeing on our streets. And I know we read the article last week, so I'm gonna, this will be a much more soothing episode, by the way. Because we've got some guys, but in the words of the Prime Minister, who did a fucking a speech outside Number 10 Downing Street to say, "Behave, please." In recent weeks and months, we've seen a shocking increase in extremist disruption and criminality. What started as protests on our streets has descended into intimidation, threats, and planned acts of violence.
Oh shit!
What was can I just off the back of last episode? How did Stella Creasy take this news? Was she enamoured by it?
I didn't check. I've decided that that this is.
She was not.
Okay.
She was not. After writing a full article asking for exactly this, she went, "Wait, what? No."
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure that she will very sadly vote for the expansion of prevent powers and giving John Woodcock the lawgiver. I think that she'll very sadly walk into the yes lobby when her time comes. I can't.
I saw a tweet the other day, basically describing like how obviously the media and political establishment spent 4 or 5 years or whatever trying to vent Jeremy Corbyn into space or whatever, essentially, and a guy who is essentially all of the things that they were saying that Jeremy Corbyn has now won a seat off of the back of extremely effective political manoeuvring.
Yeah, I mean, he is a piece of shit, George Galloway. So, like, you know, I understand the temptation to, like, sort of cheer this whole thing on. But quite frankly, George Galloway and literally everybody in Parliament at the moment, except for, I don't know, maybe like a handful of them, just like they all deserve each other, and I hope they're all fucking miserable together. Is like, you know, that's. But yeah, basically
rather
the reason
than giving John Woodcock the lawgiver, have they considered that if MPs want, they can just sentence themselves to 5 years in the ISO cube where no one can get to them?
Yeah, exactly.
Look, we've moved on from Judge Dredd. We're now extracting everybody's bodily fluids after they die. That's what we're doing now. There's a new movie in vogue.
Oh, I thought we were just going to get some of those Israeli units over to do the job for us.
Yeah, the Fremen and the Israelis a lot more similar than you think.
See, I thought you were going with Tank Girl there.
No, anyway, so it turns out that, quote again, the sitting prime minister, mob rule is replacing democratic rule, to which I would say that's nice. Can I have some evidence of that? Because, you know, if that were true, then the UK would have called for a fucking ceasefire by now. But now, of course, the key that you knew that, you know, mob rule has displaced our precious democratic systems is that, like, somebody projected from the river to the sea on the side of Big Ben, you know, in a light show. That wasn't.
Is it
permanent.
mob rule when the mob is expressing the will of the actual majority of people? Is that still
that's
mob
populism.
rule, or
That's
is that
even worse than mob rule, David?
Oh, that's the bad democracy, isn't it?
That's a big mob rather than just a middling mob.
Yeah, there was also, I don't know if you guys saw that, but like I think it was the US like Foreign Secretary Blinken said something along the lines of like, I hope that Joe Biden doesn't do like anything with this negative sentiment because, you know, that's not how democracies work. It was something along those lines. It was truly just like, yeah.
I'm so anti-populist. I won't even do anything that anyone wants. Like,
yeah. Well, apparently, like the anti-war marches are all, they may have started out peaceful and kind, but now they are, quote, filled with extremists, and we need to show that, like, those marches can actually be done in a safe manner. I didn't know they were unsafe before, but, you know.
Well, yeah, the safe manner is you do them at home and you never fucking tell anyone about it.
Yeah, a lot of extremely annoying people on Twitter are very upset that they're going to feel bad if they go to central London on a Saturday.
Yeah, the extremism in question is thinking that like Palestinians are people.
Well, I mean,
it's really sad that there's a genocide going on, but have you considered that what it's actually doing is it's made the vibes a bit rancid, and we're all suffering that.
Well, I mean, I've been thinking about this, right? And like, I mean, I'm trying to be open-minded and generous, and what I can imagine is that if you are just like a sort of non-political person and sort of you catch the news like you catch the occasional, you know, headline and evening news and stuff, and, you know, like you are, I don't know, you live in a Jewish area of London, and like all the papers, all the, you know, the headlines are screaming at you that, like, you know, these demos are physically unsafe, that they are full of extremists, that, you know, jihadis lurk amongst them. And then, you know, if you're not really paying attention, you might actually feel a certain amount of fear because, like, our entire political and media ecosystem is projecting specifically, I think, to Jewish people in the UK at this moment, that they should feel fearful because there are demons among us, basically. And then the news gets to do the trick, which they've been doing for a couple of weeks now, which is to then go and, like, interview these people and say, hey, are you afraid? Because I've just been, like, telling you that you should be afraid. And I was like, I find it very difficult to, like, I'm sure that there are, like, well-meaning people who do feel afraid to go into central London, not because of some, weird shit that they themselves think, but because they've just been told over and over again that the only rational thing to do in, the Muslimic heartlands of no-go London is to feel fearful to go outside on a Saturday. So, I can well imagine that there are people who legitimately feel that they should fear for things, but, have no grounds for, no sort of material grounds
as much
to do
grounds
so.
as
Right. Okay, but
as
the
much
thing
grounds
is,
as a lot of people have completely
Yeah.
insane opinions, like
Are you
machine
saying-
gunning people coming
The
across the
thing
channel
is-
in small boats.
if we stopped to consider the opinions of the uninformed, we'd never get fucking anything done.
No,
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
what you're
I'm
saying,
not
Rob, is
saying
that
we should
I think-
support this and just sit down on our haunches and say, well, if anybody ever feels like a little twinge of something, we should sit on our fucking hands. Of course not. But it's I just despise the media class who amps up this fucking atmosphere of terror and then runs to people and say, now that we've terrified you, don't you feel scared?
I think what you're saying, Rob, is that facts don't care about your feelings.
No, not quite. But
I mean, this
it's
is what the media machine does. It's,
yeah.
Oh no, we built this big megaphone that people are screaming the most blood curdling shit you've ever heard into, and people seem to be reacting to it every time we do that. Weird.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, there's no way of getting rid of the megaphone.
Exactly. I mean, but I didn't want to focus on a lot of the stuff we talked about last week, but I wanted to focus on the question of what is to be done about all this terror on the streets.
I
know.
Is the answer destroy the computers? Because I've just got that on the brain now.
No, it is to destroy sand. Apparently, sorry, I didn't know this, but apparently...
have we considered a technocracy of the mentats?
Opinion pieces in the Guardian by the mentats.
Apparently, I didn't know this, but the current definition for extremism in the UK is quote-unquote vocal or active opposition to fundamental British values.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah. Vague as fuck, it turns out.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's whatever you need them to be on that specific day. So, convenient.
But I mean, if you thought that was vague as fuck, so apparently it's not vague enough, so we need a redefinition to make it even more vague for everybody involved. This is from the Times. A new definition, which is still being finalised, it is expected to cover those whose actions more broadly undermine the country's institutions or values.
Oh, this is the thing that a bunch of quasi-fascist / completely fascist dipshits have gone, hey, that's me.
Yeah, exactly. Specifically, who's the really insane Tory? Miriam Kate, that hard Christian Tory. She.
I was going to say, do you know how little that narrows it down?
Yeah. No, but apparently she specifically is now worried that under such a definition, anti-abortion groups, TERFs, and quote-unquote advocates for socially conservative causes could all fall under this same banner. So they need to write a definition in such a way that it only
I don't think they should. I think instead they should
Clean for the Queen.
problem solved.
This is the thing. This would be actually quite cool and good if we'd managed to get a socialist government in place, but we don't, so it's actually bad and shit.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't remember which one of them, but one of the fucking Tory ministers went on TV over the weekend and was asked, can you provide, any definition of, those whose actions undermine the country's...
I love this. Define a chair.
No, they were saying
including only chairs and nothing that isn't a chair.
This was specifically name a group that isn't banned at the moment but would be under this new legislation, and how would we make it safer? How would that make any of us safer? And the answer is, of course, they didn't do any of that. They just they just refused to name anybody.
Well, yeah, because you don't want to give the enemy the advantage. You know what I mean? You can't lose the element of surprise.
I mean, the main thing they seem to be wanting to do is if your group is now extremist, quote unquote, or whatever, it's now illegal for like MPs to address you.
Okay.
So like Jeremy Corbyn can't show up at like a pro-Palestine rally or something anymore. Apparently that's gonna like solve the fucking problem.
Okay.
But yeah, among the other things,
if I get myself like declared a fucking prescribed group or whatever, does that mean the Labour Party finally have to stop sending me fucking flyers?
Silver linings.
Absolutely not, Jamie.
yeah, I mean, the only thing that I could find practically that seems like they're, of course, really starting like that they want to do is they want to like fund Prevent even more, and now I think this is also for Prevent now to demand that universities stop extremist activities on campus.
I love to import more American bullshit.
Yeah,
this is why the TERFs are scared. Okay.
I just broke my wrist. Making a jerk-off motion too hard. God damn it.
But yeah, all of this is to be like, apparently they've put Michael Gove, who is an insane, hard right Tory, in charge of all of this, with a little help from fucking, John Woodcock. So looking forward to
paragons of fucking success there. So like, I'm sure this will all turn out to be nothing.
Yeah. Anyway, in slightly more sort of one of these things that I think is sort of going under the headlines, but it was on. I saw it on Twitter and I thought it was worth talking about. Is so in the background of all of this, because we're not, it's always the questions like, what are people doing in the background, while in the foreground we're talking about mob rule and all this other bullshit. So like it's been a while, but do you remember when the UK paid roughly £45.5 billion to bail out RBS, which at the time was the owner of NatWest? This was after Fred the Shred, that whole story basically.
Oh yeah.
Fred Goodwin was the CEO at the time, and he was known as Fred the Shred because he kept firing people and like guarding companies that he bought and so on and so forth.
Sure, just not long after Gordon Brown spent all the pounds.
This was the part of all the pound spending, essentially. So what the government did in 2008 to bail out RBS, they bought out, for their £45.5 billion, they bought about 85% of all existing shares in RBS. This was to prevent the bank from going under after having been, very unwise with its financial management, to put it briefly and politely. So since then...
Yeah, rather than how it reads in the notes, fuck the dog. Which I think refers to somebody else.
So ever since then, that 85% stake that the government, and by extension the British public, has gone down to just under 33%. So most of these shares have been sold under the price that the government paid at the time, which was about £5 a share. So each time the government...
You've got to spend money to make money, Rob. It's the first rule of business.
Each time the government dumped shares on the open market, because of course the government can't own private institutions, magic of the private market, blah blah blah.
Again,
companies got to stand on their own feet.
Another crucial part of business is to just sell all of your stock in massive chunks so that you saturate the market, and definitely don't drive the price down or anything like that.
Yeah. So each time the government dumped shares, it lost money on the transaction, but it wasn't like you and I could buy them. They were only...
Did it lose the money though? Because lost money implies that it went somewhere and no one knows where it is, but I bet it's in some cunt's pocket, right?
It is in some cunt's pocket, but it's in the private sector's pocket, and those are the efficient...
then all is right
creators.
with the fucking world.
Heaven is upheld, yeah.
I mean, I should say that this wasn't the only way that the government lost a whole bunch of money on RBS. This is from This Is Money. Taxpayers have also lost out in other ways. In 2010, NatWest, or RBS, sold its payment subsidiary to private equity firms, Advent and Bain, for £2 billion to comply with new EU rules. Those two private equity companies then floated the payments provider 5 years later at a £5 billion markup. In 2018, it was sold again for $8 billion. So, just because we dumped it off really super efficiently, it meant we lost out on a gain of somewhere between £3 and £5 billion. And also, because like we were still the majority share owner at the time, taxpayers have also pretty much paid for the £700 million in fines levied by the government against the owners of NatWest, which include rigging LIBOR and manipulating foreign exchange markets. So, with one hand, the government fines, and then with the other hand, it pays a large chunk of that fine. Which, that's the magic of the private fucking sector, baby. I should note, by the way, that none of that has
You got to laugh, really, haven't you? Like,
yeah. I mean, I should note that none of this, like the government ownership, the £46 billion bailout, the continuing series of scandals, LIBOR, Forex, and so on and so forth, has stopped any of the three CEOs like NatWest has had since 2008 from earning about £3 million a year. So that's really this is the efficiency of the private market, because so the total losses that the government has like built up since starting to sell its shares in NatWest are about £32 billion, and I should I know. Look, this all sounds.
Gotta spend money to make money, Rob. What about this? Are you not getting?
Yeah, well, I mean, the context in which I think is quite important is, when we're about to have a new budget and it's going to be a fucking shit show because there's going to be more cuts to the NHS, and when Wes Streeting and Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves say there's no more fucking money, or like when Birmingham Council goes bankrupt and they have to cut literally 100% of their arts funding. Quietly, and while nobody's talking about it, the real business of government is being done behind the scenes, is this kind of financial nut cutting that just includes taking massive losses by dumping this thing back on the private market at a loss while it's still doing crimes.
Yeah, but the bins won't be woke, so it's fine.
But I have good news. Like, I didn't just want to say like a negative thing. I have good news for you today. The Times has actually this week.
I don't believe you.
Well, I mean, you, Jamie, because you're.
I fear the Dutch even when they bear gifts.
Especially when.
So the government is now planning, because it still owns, like I said, about 33 to 38%, numbers vary. They are planning a new Tell Sid style campaign where you, the clever investor, you can get in this time and make some money off the sale of the rock bottom sale of the government's assets, because it's still like half the price it was in 2008. So the government's loss could be your gain.
Sid? Who's Sid?
Tell Sid. This is a British gas thing.
Yeah, it is. It's the Tell Sid was like the when under the Thatcher government they sold off British Gas, which was one of the first like big fuck off privatization. One of the many ones in the energy sector that we're reaping the benefits of today. And the ad campaign for so private individuals, just regular people, could get a piece of British Gas. Was Tell Sid. It was like, tell Sid you can buy shares in British Gas, basically. So they're planning the same campaign.
Tell Sid these insider trading secrets now.
Tell Sid about business secrets of the pharaohs. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, so
tell
Sid, or you can get in on this great offer that the government has for you. However, I do regret to inform you, it might not be as good as you might think it is. You, the individual, not to be confused with you, the massive financial institution, because you will probably make out as a bandit. So. Jeremy Hunt is planning, according to the Times, what is known as a two-track sale offer. Quote, officials are understood to have asked advisors on the share plan for a parallel offer.
A good track and a shit track. One for the shit munchers and one for private investors or whatever.
Yeah, so basically what the plan is, they want to offer large institutional investors, so banks, pension funds, and so on and so forth, big chunks, and then offer another smaller chunk to local, like small investors, like people who just like day trade or whatever. Like if you trade on your own personal account as a citizen, basically.
However, shit munchers, big money. Cool.
Yes, and if that sounds, I don't know, if you're a very loyal listener of the podcast and you remember my finance bullshit talk sometimes, if this sounds in any way familiar to you, that's because this same 2-track sales process, so big blocks versus small investors, it's the same thing they did in 2013 that Vince Cable did in the fire sale of the Royal Mail, which meant that the share price was like vastly under its worth, and it meant that like the big institutional investors made out like fucking bandits, and like people who just bought it on the day it became available lost their fucking shirt essentially. And also we didn't get nearly as much money as we could have, but again, some bankers made a really big profit. So I'm glad to hear that like we're learning of all of this. Learning so much, in fact, that 2 of the advisors on this remainder sale of the NatWest shares are Goldman Sachs and Barclays, who are also involved in the sale of Royal Mail, and both profited handsomely from the exchange.
Funny that.
Cool. Presumably they'll be also paid a few £1 million to facilitate the £1 sale of the post office.
I mean, again, the reason I mention this stuff is it just kind of goes on in the background, and the foreground is fucking we'll spend money on AI, but not on paying some fucking doctors or nurses or improving some schools. Like your kids will just have to live with structural support in the classroom the whole time because nobody can be bothered to fix the fucking aerated concrete bullshit. So there is plenty of money. There is at least 32 billion, if not more, incoming to just chuck out to the private sector because we have to get the magic pixies back to work.
Yeah,
there's infinite money for this bullshit.
I do enjoy how, because we live under capitalism, we've got these extremely good incentives to just do insane shit, like shove big piles of money into a machine that does nothing except emit black clouds of smoke, and call that AI. Whereas doing things like funding public services, NHS, and so on, that doesn't make a number go in the right direction. But the big black smoke emitting machine, that does make the number go in the right direction. So that's what we've got to do. Unfortunately, if you've got a problem with that, well, unfortunately, you're an extremist now, so you can't protest it.
Yeah. And look, it's not like Starmer's Labour Party was going to ever use these shares and this asset, because Britain, or the British state at least, owned for a very long time not just a significant chunk, but an outright supermajority for all the shares of one of the nation's biggest banks. And instead of using it, because whilst we live under capitalism and hopefully one day make the transition to socialism and then communism, but a people's bank that is managed by the state where, people can just have a bank account but without all the commercial bullshit attached is a really important intermediary step. It's something that you would need to have in any kind of, transitional phase. And we had one. We also had enough shares to maybe get at least one bank to lend money to structurally important things, or I don't know, fix British Steel or whatever the fuck else is there. We had that lying around and we could have used it to do some actual good. But no, instead we thought it was so important, again, to sell it back to the private sector magic pixies that we sold off most of our holdings at a £32 billion loss. Again, it's also because the fucking papers and everybody keeps bringing the poor man up. But it's imagine the Corbyn government having their hands, their literal controlling hands on RBS and NatWest. What could we have done with that? As an actual functioning thing. Fucking incredible.
We could,
and that's why it couldn't be allowed to happen.
We could have built a tower to space and just vented all the fucking atmosphere from Britain. I feel like that's the only sensible use of money.
Anyway, I think that that should cover because last week was a bit of an angry episode, and we've just done some vegetables, and I think
decided
we should
to lighten the mood this week.
Yeah, we've decided to lighten the mood this week. So what I have for you for the rest of this episode is just the stories of just two guys being dudes, but in very different ways. And I like both of them very much. As well, I'll tell you a little bit about them. My first dude that I briefly want to touch on, because it's so fucking glorious. A little quote from NBC to lead the story in. A civilian worker for the US Air Force has been charged with illegally sending secret information about Russia's war against Ukraine through a foreign dating website to a woman claiming to be in Ukraine, officials have said. David Slater, a former 63, a former lieutenant colonel in the army, was working in a civilian role for US Strategic Command, and he was arrested, blah, blah, blah. Basically, what former Lieutenant Colonel David Slater was doing was messaging his sweetheart, who I'm sure was a real Ukrainian woman.
My dearest David, I love you so much. Is NATO planning on moving against Russia today?
Yes.
I don't know.
My dearest David, how I yearn for you. You wouldn't happen to know if they're planning to murder Putin anytime soon. Just so good.
I mean,
look, normally I couldn't, because, we're not fucking Paul Mason. I could give a fucking shit about, intelligence wars between Ukraine and Russia. Just have at it. It's just whatever. All's fair in posting and war, I guess. But, except that we have, or because of the trial now, we have a number of messages from his, definitely real, definitely Ukrainian lover. And I just want to read some of them, because they're fucking incredible.
Are you going to read them?
Yeah.
Let's get our resident David to read them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
As soon as I mentioned by name,
Yeah, you take them, David. Sorry.
On or about March 11th. Dear, what is shown on the screens in this special room? It is very interesting. On or about March 15th. By the way, you were the first to tell me that NATO members are travelling by train, and only now, parenthesis already evening, close parenthesis, this was announced on our news. You are my secret informant, love. How were your meetings? ? Successfully? ? On or about March the 18th. Beloved Dave, do NATO and Biden have a secret plan to help us? On or about March 23rd. Dave, it's great that you get information about specified country 1 first. I hope you will tell me right away. You are my secret agent. With love.
Do you remember a few weeks ago, when we talked about those dating AIs that were running out of control? This is a shit version of that, but it's asking you about the secret battle plans. It's fucking.
Can you imagine the world in which this is actually a real woman who is just innocently horny for intelligence? And she just doesn't understand. Where has my Dave gone? Where has the light of the heavens disappeared to?
She's big into War Thunder.
Yeah.
On or about April 12th, sweet Dave, the supply of weapons is completely classified, which is great. On or about April the 14th.
Sweet
my
Dave,
sweet
whisper
Dave.
Sweet nothings like weapon plans into my ear.
My sweet Dave, thanks for the valuable information. It's great that 2 officials from the USA are going to Kiev. On or about April 19th. Dave, I hope tomorrow NATO will prepare a very unpleasant surprise for Putin. Will you tell me? On or about April 21st. You have a job in the operations centre today. I remember. I'm sure there is a lot of interesting news there.
The great thing, though, is, the fact that this guy's 63...
Yeah.
This fucking boomer-ass motherfucker is just, absolutely DTF after giving away these military secrets.
I mean, honestly, better, what are they going to do with all those military secrets if he doesn't give them to some random,
woman
that he met on the internet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're only going to get posted on the War Thunder forums, so why not just let the guy have a little bit of fun? He's
I just
old,
love this shit so
let him enjoy
much.
himself.
I just love this shit so much because it's like, oh, what do we, you know, like everybody's like, oh, we need to do OPSEC and like, you know, you have to talk on the special phone. It's like, you know, we have to be really impressed with our intelligence agencies and their secret capabilities over time. It's like, you don't have to be impressed. Like, look how easy it is to just like get like some 63-year-old horny contractor in, just be like, sweet David, can I please have your password?
It's a good thing she's not real, because this guy obviously does not know the meaning of protect in any way, shape, or form. So,
well, it was either this, like honeypotting, I guess, some 63-year-old guy, or having to hang around like a bunch of train stations in central London, and I know which one I'd choose.
The spy who rizzed me.
You're right. This is actually a honeypot, which is just how far we have fallen. How fucking far we have plummeted. God damn.
Or like how little effort.
It used to be a real country.
Or like, imagine being like fucking like an old school like KGB operative, you know, like you've been like assigned to, you know, be like a honey trap or like run honey traps all across the West, and like, you know, years long investments in training and language skills and God knows what. And she's just like, no, you don't need to. You can just like DM guys saying, sweet David, what does the screen in front of you tell me?
Oh dear.
Forged in the same fires of something awful as we all were, I'm sure.
Right. So the other story I wanted to tell you is a little bit more involved, and it involves only like a collection of utter cunts, but one of them is just funnier than the others. All right. And it has a lot to do with crypto. So we've
all seen Arrested Development.
Fuck's sake, crypto.
So I don't know if you remember
to the packet. I hope nobody minds.
The money's in the Bitcoin stand.
So for those, if it's been a while since you've brushed up on your crypto mythos, one of the most enduring bits of lore about crypto is that its creator, a guy or at least a handle called Satoshi Nakamoto, has never been identified, and no one's ever come forward and convincingly said, "Hi, you know, it's me. I'm the guy who wrote the white paper that like the modern crypto industry is founded on." Like it's one of those mysteries.
There's a couple of good theories as to who it is, and one of them is like, yeah, he died. That's why he never announced it. But it's kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out it wasn't like an individual, but it was an institution that did it. So
what legacy though to just like spring this like completely like almost completely useless thing on the world that just makes everything just a little bit worse, consuming a ton of energy to do very, very, very little, and then just dying like immediately. That would be what way to go.
I like the idea that it was a foundation that done it. The foundation for making up a guy for everyone to get understandably mad at.
Yeah. What makes it kind of funny is like the first, like I can't remember how many million or so it is of Bitcoin that were mined.
1.1 million that will come up later in the story.
They're reserved under his name. Only he can claim them if he knows the password to the like account. So like whoever is Satoshi is theoretically one of the richest people you can imagine, but in practice it's never been touched.
So what if like it's not a consortium or a group of people, and what if it's not like one, you know, Japanese inventor, but what if instead it was one Australian man?
Oh, not these bricks again. I guess.
Carry on, Rob.
And that's who I wanted to talk about. So, and what if all of this, so basically the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto and the Australian man, are the subject of a currently ongoing court case in the UK High Court between Craig Wright, the one Australian man, and an alliance of crypto dorks and pricks, including former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, as well as the crypto exchange Coinbase, all of whom are trying to stop Jack Dorsey from basically being the most annoying crypto person online you've ever met.
Hang on,
Good
did you
lord.
say hang on? They're trying to stop Jack Dorsey, or do you mean they're trying to stop the Australian dude?
The Jack Dorsey and a consortium of other cunts are trying to stop the one Australian man.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Just making sure we followed. Carry on.
So if you're wondering why is he so fucking annoying, especially to like other crypto people, well, it's basically because Craig Wright keeps claiming that he actually is Satoshi, and because he claims that he keeps suing like different pretty much every Bitcoin project under the sun for various different reasons, including cease and desists and libel
It sounds
claims.
like a good bit.
It is quite a good bit, but the underlying thing is actually quite serious, because if he wins this particular case and several other ones ongoing, and he can prove that he is Satoshi, that would basically put him in control of the, then Bitcoin and the white paper would be his intellectual property, and that would basically put him in control of the Bitcoin code base and therefore basically of the entire Bitcoin economy, because it all flows from that original 2008 white paper.
Okay. But why
So
do I...
they could
Controls the
get him to
Bitcoin,
just-
controls the universe.
So he could just put in a password somewhere and prove this immediately, but he just refuses to because reasons.
Well, actually, I will come back to the matter of the password, because you are correct. That would be the easiest way. But Craig Wright, for various reasons...
Is the password on a hard drive that he lost and he's been like digging in a fucking landfill for years or whatever?
No, actually,
do you know
Have we talked about that guy? Have we talked about the landfill guy yet?
Yeah, we have.
Did you know what happened?
Actually, Jamie,
when
I'll
he finally
spoil this
dug it
bit
up?
for you. Actually, Jamie, I'll spoil this bit for you now. He actually did claim that it was on a hard drive that he did destroy, but only when he came after the back from the hospital, almost so high on painkillers, he didn't realize what he was doing.
I hate when I take too much ayahuasca and I destroy like $360 million.
Traded the hard drive for a grand piano.
Speaking of, I have to tell the story. You know the dude who was digging up the hard drives that were in the landfill somewhere? Do you know they found them? And it turned out it wasn't Bitcoin that was on them. It was another shitcoin that had a similar sounding name, and it was actually only worth like $1,000 or something.
Oh,
after
yes.
they spent all that money digging through for it. Oh,
Well, that must be a different guy. Because the last I heard about the guy that had done that, he was like offering a reward if anyone could dig it up for him.
no, it's the same
100%.
guy. It's the same guy. They got
Yeah, I
investment,
did
they dug
hear-
it up, and it turned out it was worthless.
Yeah, I think he had like some fork of Bitcoin that was like fundamentally worthless.
Yeah. As, by the way, does our one Australian man. He also has his own fork that is worthless. But unless, of course,
How Australian is this man?
He's quite Australian. He works in the UK, but he is an Australian himself. And like, Jamie, to get back to your point, why should you care about this? Well, you shouldn't. And like I said, everybody involved in this is a bunch of cunts. So I hope they all lose. But the only reason I'm talking about it is because this guy is like... His legal strategy is fucking incredible, and I just want to talk about it for a little bit because it's just good. It's just... Before we get into all that, apart from being, claiming, or at least claiming to be the inventor of Bitcoin, he is, according to CoinDesk, also, quote, a self-described computer scientist, economist, cryptographer, patent writer, author, lawyer, pastor, master of martial arts, and mathematician.
Get the fuck out of here.
And remember the bit about being a master of martial arts, because that will come back a little bit later in his testimony
Oh, for fuck's
as to
sake.
why he is Satoshi Nakamoto.
I fucking love it.
And according to Coinbase, he is also claiming currently to be working towards 5 different separate PhDs at the same time.
Well, you were making bad investments. I was studying the server blade. Quote
Forbes, in one instance during the ongoing trial, Wright exclaimed in court, "But I am Satoshi." So if you're wondering, what's the court case basically about? So basically what's happening is like this group, again, nobody in this story is a fucking good guy. There's the group basically around Jack Dorsey and Coinbase called the Crypto Open Patent Alliance, or COPA. And they are in London. They are suing Martin Wright, basically, or they are asking for a ruling from the UK High Court for what's known as a negative declaration, i.e. they want the UK High Court to stipulate that Martin Wright is not Nakamoto. You could do that, apparently.
Okay. They shouldn't be allowed to, though. Isn't the point
I thought it was Craig Wright.
I mean, the whole point you would assume of Bitcoin is to, like, you know, be free and anonymous and all that.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I thought the whole point of it was like that you can't be told what to do by the man. So surely, like, if the man says this guy has to shut up, he can just do what he wants.
Well, I mean, they're trying. Why are they doing this? This is a very expensive legal action. Basically, what COPA is saying is that, like, because this guy is so, like, litigious and so happy to sue people, that
I love that it's called COPA.
Yeah. That because he's so litigious, he's stifling work on the advancement of Bitcoin, which I would say, you know, good.
Stop getting in the way of us polishing this turd.
Well, I mean, it's essentially because he keeps, like I said, he keeps filing different intellectual property lawsuits against different developers of Bitcoin-related shenanigans. Because he keeps saying, no, you're all working off my property, so you have to stop doing it.
The hero we need.
He puts the bit in Bitcoin.
So basically, what would happen is if COPA won and they got this negative declaration, it would make it very hard for Martin Wright to keep suing people because, you know, now the court says actually this guy isn't Nakamoto and therefore can't keep claiming that he has the intellectual property right.
But only in Britain, surely, right?
Because yes and no, but because like the British High Court is basically sort of the world standard for like libel cases. If the UK High Court rules in such a way, then like it's most countries will take like the UK High Court's lead and like drop cases at this point. Like you could still keep doing it, but it would be much harder to succeed because most courts would then like just toss your lawsuit out. Because they'll just say, look, we have this ruling from the UK High Court. You're not Satoshi. You don't have standing. Go away.
Rob, you keep calling him Martin Wright.
Oh, Craig Wright. Sorry, yeah, I'll keep it.
Yeah.
I don't know where I could get Martin Wright from. Anyway, basically, and the other reason, apart from that, he's just an insanely litigious guy, is that Craig Wright has his own fork. So his own split version of Bitcoin, which he calls the Bitcoin Satoshi version, or BSV. And he owns a lot of currently worthless BSV coins. But if he were to be the true, like, you know, if the High Court says, no, actually, he is the inventor of Bitcoin, then suddenly all those, like, worthless coins might be worth a lot more. So he has a financial directive incentive as well to win this case. Apart from that, he just likes suing people. I should also say that this is not the first time that Wright is in the UK courts. He previously sued some blogger for libel over similar claims. The blogger said, no, you're not Satoshi. He said, yeah, he is. He won that particular case for reasons I won't bother to go into. But he was only given £1 in damages by the judge because, according to the judgment... Because he, Craig Wright, advanced a deliberately false case and put forward deliberately false evidence until days before the trial, he will recover only nominal damages. So yes, you may be right, but you are also a known liar and a piece of shit.
Well, you're right, but also extremely annoying.
Well, pretty much. So, like, I can't even begin to like explain how many other people Craig Wright has sued in pursuit of either being or pretending to be Satoshi Nakamoto. But they include, this is from Molly White's Web3 is Growing Great, a guy called Hodl Nort.
Oh, fuck off. truly the most grating people on earth.
Oh, perfect.
So during that case, this is a quote from CoinDesk. Forensic analyst hired by Hoddelnord, who is in reality some Norwegian Bitcoin guy.
Hey, that you keep saying the name.
So, forensic analyst pored over documents previously supplied by Craig Wright, which purported to prove that he was the author of the original Bitcoin white paper, but which included discrepancies such as the inclusion of fonts not available at the time of the writing of the original white paper.
Oh, superb. That's so good.
So yeah, like I said, the current
Calibri, unbelievable.
The current
I'm
case,
guessing he wrote it in Calibri and it wasn't out then. That'd be my guess.
It's something along those lines, yeah. Although I really like the idea that he did the whole thing in Windings. That just adds a certain charm to the proceedings. Yeah, like I said, the current case of Copa, for which read Jack Dorsey and other cunts, versus Craig Wright, another cunt, is basically about settling whether or not he is Satoshi, and if he's not, whether or not, such a judgment could stop him suing everybody for libel or otherwise anything to do with crypto. And like we were saying before, by far the easiest way of settling this would be if Wright produced or show ownership in some way of the wallet key that has that 1.1 million Bitcoin in it. The original, mining that Satoshi himself or themselves or herself did. It has at current value about $60 billion in Bitcoin in it. And basically everybody in the crypto world, is sort of agreed upon the fact that if you have the password to that wallet, and you're vaguely plausible, we will sort of collectively agree that you are indeed the inventor of Bitcoin, and, all bragging rights and the 60 billion are yours to do with as you like. And because it's Bitcoin, it's on the public ledger, so you wouldn't have to show your entire password, you don't have to show that you own everything. You just have to log in and sell one Bitcoin, in a sort of registered manner, and that would do it. Yeah, that would prove that you are who you say you are. However, as I said before, Wright claims he destroyed the hard drive with the only key on it after coming out of the hospital high on Quaaludes, which is fucking... which I love very, very much.
Wait, actually?
But the news site that I read this
it's
about...
like the Ocarina from Zelda, but it transports you directly to court.
I mean, the Bitcoin specialist news site Protos that I read for this says still on sedatives. I just like the idea of it being Quaaludes, just barred out and hitting hard drives on the way home. Then again, he did change his Craig Wright did change his his argument in this current case, where his chief legal counsel argued that if Wright were to prove that he has access to the 60 billion Bitcoin wallet, quote, would be this is from Wired, quote, would be contrary to Wright's core belief, claimed his lawyer, in the privacy preserving potential of cryptocurrencies. So yes, I could prove it. I do have access, but I'm not going to because I'm a private individual.
My Bitcoin girlfriend goes to another hard drive that's broken. You wouldn't know her. Okay.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That though, I go around suing everyone because I'm the wizard that invented the bitcoins. Can you prove that? No, because I don't want everyone to know I'm the wizard who invented the bitcoins. I love this guy.
No, that's me too. That's why we're talking about him. So, last month, February 2024, Craig Wright, was cross-examined on the stand as part of this lawsuit for 7 days in a row, plus one extra day at the end of the trial. The decision is still pending. And certainly an interesting time was had by all during this cross-examination. Quote from Molly White. The case doesn't seem to be going very well for Craig Wright, with opposing counsel at one point saying to him, "This is just another fairy story, isn't it?" And one of the fairy stories are all true. You know, again, case is still ongoing. Could be true. But I just remember how I asked you to keep the martial arts bit in mind. This is from a bit from Yahoo Finance.
Where I go to get all my martial arts news.
The second week of the trial ended creatively. Craig Wright's sister, Danielle de Morgan, acting in his defense, took to the witness stand on Friday to recount a blog post that she wrote that stated when she heard the name Satoshi, a Japanese name, she knew that was right. In her blog, his sister...
Translator's note, Satoshi is a Japanese name.
In the blog, his sister, De Morgan, recounted the time she saw Wright in the park dressed as a ninja when he was 18 or 19, a tale she says why she connected the dots between Satoshi and Craig Wright.
I'm convinced. Let him have the money.
If it wasn't his, he's clearly earned it by now.
Yeah.
She added, it gets even better, she added that she once saw Wright around 2007 or 2008 in a room full of computers, and he explained he was working on something important. Case closed, motherfuckers.
My brother is a cyborg ninja, therefore he's Satoshi. Yes, okay. Superb. Great.
Oh, that's so good. I am working on a project. Do not ask about the project.
What does this guy look like? Because I'm picturing the fucking cybersmith, I'll be honest.
He just looks like a chunky Australian. That's the only way I could describe him. Not like, not like running to fat, but just like chunky. He's a blocky man.
Blocky, fuck off.
Yeah. Stepped straight out of Minecraft. That's what he was doing that was important on those computers.
So, you remember how in a previous trial the judge only gave him £1 and then wrote in the judgment that he, presented falsehoods during the... I think that was the trial against Hod or Not.
Stop saying it.
Again, this is from a different piece in Wired. Among the various acts of forgery alleged by the Jack Dorsey and the other cunts, their lawyer charged that Wright had, among other things, had backdated documents to make them seem like precursors to the original 2008 white paper, manipulated email communications in support of his claim to be Nakamoto, inserted material after the fact into his own academic paper to imply that he conceived Bitcoin long before its release, as well as used ChatGPT to help create additional forgeries after experts cast doubt over the existing materials.
This story really has everything.
I know.
I you know what? I'm convinced. I believe it. This is the guy, because it would make karmic sense. The world would be in order if the founder of Bitcoin was this fucking lame and incompetent. It would be so perfect. It would just perfectly sum up every one of these fucking dorks.
We would have found the dipshit. That is true. It would be.
Yeah.
The specific discrepancies identified by the attorney for Jack Dorsey and Copa include anachronistic use of fonts. We talked about that.
Can I just ask like a technical question about the lawyer they're using? Is that lawyer related to any of them?
Sorry?
Is that lawyer somebody's sister as well? Do you know what I mean?
Sadly, I don't have that information. I wish I did, but... The specific discrepancies identified by COPA include anachronistic use of fonts, as well as metadata that implied computer clocks have been manipulated, internal timestamps that contradicted the outward-facing dating of documents, and so on and so forth. He's basically like, at least COPA alleges that this man has a wild and long history of like forging documents, changing dates, and so on and so forth.
The most dangerous kind of dipshit, the one whomst can unlock the PDF.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. This is from a website run by COPA, so these people have a vested interest in making Craig Wright seem like an idiot. But from what I've read from like other publications, is this came out in court as well. Craig Wright presented a file that he said was a quote-unquote time capsule captured from his computer in October 2007, containing various pieces of evidence that he said he supported his claims. Which is, of course, important. If you could prove that, all your various note papers and, if you had bits of script and writing that you were doodling, this idea for Bitcoin in 2007, you might be the one who wrote the white paper in 2008. However, back to the quote. However, experts found proof that the quote-unquote time capsule was subsequently edited in September 2023 to add, modify, and delete relevant files. These modifications were done using a computer clock set back to October 31, 2007.
I was literally thinking if he just changed the clock on his computer.
Yeah, but that is what he did.
Yeah,
or alleged to have done.
Incredible.
I should be very specific. In a different time warp, this is from a piece of The Guardian, another document, again dated before the publication of the 2008 white paper, contained references to 4 academic articles published sometime later. So like, either he was backdating documents, with academic proofs that weren't published until after the 2008 the famous white paper. Why? Wright explained. Well, that's because researchers share pre-publication, which is true, but collectively you might have some questions as to whether one Australian man actually can do all this stuff. Amazingly, though,
the Bitcoin bogan.
Yeah.
Amazingly, because he's now, been accused many times and in several lawsuits of creating fake or documents or interfering to create fraudulent documents. This is a bit from a piece in Wired. A central feature of Craig Wright's strategy for deflecting the forgery allegations appears to be to cast doubt on the credibility of the forensic experts. Prior to the start of the trial, experts put forward by both sides had jointly concluded that many of Wright's documents bear signs of manipulation. In the witness box, Wright claimed that COPA's expert is completely biased, which, that's fair. That's the expert hired by the other guy is going to reach conclusions. That's, whatever. However, quote again, in the witness box, presented with unflattering findings by his own experts, Wright declared those experts also to be unskilled or otherwise unqualified, blaming his previous solicitors for selecting them. He also, by the way, is alleging that the lawyers he had before his current set were part of a larger conspiracy to rob him of the mantle of being Satoshi Nakamoto.
Makes sense.
The mantle.
These knaves have stolen the mantle of my divinity, and they shall experience my wrath. Yeah, okay, cool.
Addressing the judge like fucking Sephiroth.
His other piece of evidence, by the way, which is even more incredible, I think that's from this trial. His other piece of evidence is, I think this was on cross-examination, was genuinely, if I were to forge documents, I wouldn't be so sloppy and crap about it. Quote, the irony is that if I were to manipulate or fabricate documents, they would be perfect, he said.
I can't possibly have done this crime. It's too sloppy for my crimes.
Do you really think I'm that stupid? And just the entire room stares at him.
The rare
what am I,
Moriarty
some
defense in
kind of
court. It's
dipshit
incredible.
defense?
He was also later quoted as saying, "I'll get you next time, Gadget, next time." However, briefly still sticking on the topic of false or manipulated documents, this was also during Cross. So what he kept trying to do, also with the judge, who apparently knows quite a bit about IT stuff as well, is that he kept trying to cite his own personal testing to show how all these documents, they could indeed show signs of being tampered with, but were all tampered with for innocent reasons. But he had to be repeatedly reminded by his own lawyers as well as the judge that, quote unquote, his own testing is not admissible in court.
What?
Well, he kept claiming, look, all these documents may have, been tampered with, but there are innocent reasons, and according to my own testing, no, you're not allowed to see it. There are innocent reasons for that.
Oh, okay.
Wait, testing.
Well, if it's innocent, this court doesn't deal with things that are innocent, so we can dismiss that. That's okay.
I just love the idea of just being like, look, yes, it's tampered with, but that was done in an innocent way. Experts have confirmed this. Mr. Wright, which experts do you mean? Me, for I am the expert.
The expert in innocence. Case closed, Your Honour. No further questions.
He then, in the middle of the trial, or at the end of week 4 of 8 or something, but quite late in, burst into the courtroom on a Monday morning, claimed that his wife had, quote unquote, suddenly found some boxes in the attic with relevant material, and then tried to add into the court records 164,000 new pages of evidence.
Your Honour, as you can see from my Winamp playlist, at the time, I was listening to Everybody Was Kung Fu Fighting every day. This proves I am Satoshi. Yes, okay. Loving this.
Just pulling a skip full of printouts into the fucking courtrooms. Can we put all this in here? We're not here to fuck spiders.
Furthermore, Your Honour, it really does whip the llama's ass. Case closed. Also, in a different piece of sort of coding related stuff, during the trial, Greg Wright also under cross could explain a very basic bit of cryptography called an unsigned integer. Don't worry about the technical definitions.
Oh my god!
So he couldn't explain what those are.
That is the most old person thing you've ever said to describe a fucking unsigned integer as a bit of crypto.
I don't fucking know. What am I?
It's just a fucking number,
programmer?
Mate, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the relevant thing is not whether or not I know what an unsigned integer is, because I don't, and I don't
it
fucking
is to
care
me.
to learn.
Frankly, do you know what I mean? According to my testing, yeah.
I haven't done this shit in years, and I'm pretty sure I remember that an unsigned integer is essentially just an integer representation, but the first bit isn't reserved for positive or negative. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
okay. Cool. How does he not know that?
You're out of order. This whole fucking podcast is out of order.
Not you, Rob. Not you.
Rob, you're overruled. I sustain James.
Get their ass.
You only sleep safe in your bed because rough
because
integers
Rob
are standing ready
doesn't know
to
what a
defend.
number is.
Yeah, you sleep safe in your 3 or -3 beds.
The amazing thing isn't that I don't know what an unsigned integer is. The amazing thing is that Craig Wright didn't know what it is, despite that particular bit of coding being used over 500 times in the original Bitcoin source code. So if he didn't know what it was, how did he use it over 500 times? Is an interesting question to ask.
He called it something different.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think the weeb version of an unsigned integer is?
This is where I leave you. If you guys want to work,
Your Honour, I would never
workshop
call it an
this for a
unsigned
while.
integer because unsigned integers are gay, and I would never say something like that.
Unsigned integers have no honor.
I call them Ronin integers.
Yes.
Anyway, I mean, the fact that he didn't know this might have been something to do with the fact that he was, as I said before, working on...
That sources he made it the fuck up. Do you think that might have had something to do with it? He's just some fucking chancer bastard. And, like, Godspeed to him, quite frankly. If by some hilarious mishap he becomes God Emperor of the universe, then fair play to him.
To be honest, that just means we all missed a trick. Like that's I accept my fate. Anyway,
I wouldn't love this guy if he turned into a worm.
I mean, part of the reason that he might not have known this is because he's working on so many other things at the same time. Like I said before, he claims to be working on 5 simultaneous PhDs.
Yeah,
but also
and not knowing
this
what
is from
an unsigned integer is.
This is
none of his PhDs are in that.
One of his PhDs. He's like, I've discovered through extensive research, if you use the first bit of an integer to store the sign, what if we did away with that? We get an extra bit we can use in the number.
Entering in that as evidence of a last minute here, Jamie.
Yeah. Just
I
a
love the
fucking
idea of that.
but print it out on dot matrix paper so it looks like it's from the 80s.
But yeah, part of the reason you might not have known this is he's busy thinking of so many other things at the same time. The quote from CoinDesk: Craig Wright likes to make himself out to be a workaholic. At one point during the trial, he said that he has written 3 patents so far that week, but just during lunchtimes.
Okay.
Always
What
on
were the
that
patents
grind.
for, though?
Well, he's got to patent that unsigned integer, hasn't he? I mean, now he's developed his paper on it. He's really got to file it. Could be big.
I just hope it was some kind of celebrity patent. Like he was the guy that invented, say, McDonald's to end advert or something like that.
Do you think maybe he's actually just filing patents and backdating them so it looks like they come from?
Yes,
Yes, the iPhone. I invented that.
On February alone, he claimed he wrote 2 papers. Thankfully, again, this is CoinDesk. Thankfully, he has given the courtroom some insight into what drives him to work so tirelessly. Quote, I keep being told by other people what I can and cannot do. I keep being told I am useless by others. This is one of the reasons I keep getting all those degrees, he said on the last day of his cross-examination.
Buddy, if I tried playing video games, that's how I cope with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
People said I was useless, and then I invented Bitcoin, and they're not laughing now.
I mean, he
Could
did
a
try.
Could a useless person play Pied Piper to the biggest fucking dipshits on the planet and lead them all into an environmental apocalypse of their own creation just to make a number go up? I think not.
Elon Musk says no.
However, he had, apart from being the world's smartest man, he had also prepared a different defense, but earlier. Again, this is from a quote from CoinDesk. In 2020, Craig Wright published a blog titled, quote, As an Autistic Savant, that made the case that he was telling the truth about inventing Bitcoin because he had Asperger's. Basically, the blog said,
Not a real
Asperger's
thing.
makes you a bad liar, so I don't lie.
Oh, fucking hell.
I'm gonna ask, does he have a diagnosis?
Well, I think Asperger's is no longer in the DSM, is it? I think
Well,
they
no, it's not like they call it high
It's
functioning.
autism.
They call it high functioning or something now. But
It's autism spectrum disorder, high functioning. Yeah.
yeah. But my question is, does he have a diagnosis, or is he just like one of those fucking guys you'd find on the internet who, because he can't talk to girls, has decided that must be why?
I didn't look this up, so he may have it, but going on previous, I'm going to say no, he doesn't have a diagnosis, or like the diagnosis has 7 fonts and has like is dated somewhere in the 2000 BCs.
From the desk
It's just
of
a guy who
Sigmund
never
Freud.
graduated from 2005 GBS.
I had a high functioning discussion with Diogenes. He is the proof.
Yeah, the thing is, diagnosis or not, he's given us a bad name. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it's a question of how mad about it I'm entitled to be.
I
I'm
want to
trying to
know.
get to the fucking heart over here.
Forget whether he does or doesn't have it. I want to know this guy's forum handle. That's what I want to know. What was his handle? Like,
Actually,
he's
I
got
don't
to
have
be
it
a
on me.
GBS poster.
I'm telling you, Permaban 2005.
Yeah.
I mean, I dropped it from the notes because I didn't know where to place it. But I can, if we're talking about forums, another thing that he claimed was that he was, not online and didn't have a forums handle. And then, of course, 2 minutes later, everybody found his Reddit posting handle, which has been active since 2005. Now, I should say, look, in Craig's defense, nefarious forces could be at work. This is, again, a quote from Protoss News. The overarching narrative that Wright has repeated
How is that a real
this
thing?
month.
Why is there a website called Protoss News? Like,
Yeah,
You're not going to go to amateur toss, are you? Not for news, anyway.
I go to Terran website.
Yeah.
So.
Terran News
imagine
Network,
Protoss, like putting the Protoss News app on your phone so it can ping you when you require more Vespene gas.
You just have an observer following you around all day.
Yeah. A bunch of editorials slating Joe Biden because he won't build enough pylons.
Donald Trump promising that he will fly into the overmind. Folks, it's a beautiful carrier. It's a beautiful carrier, folks.
Intaro Trump doesn't quite have the same ring to it, though.
Of course, Protoss News would be very critical of this guy. He's basically doing a Zerg rush of the legal system. Admittedly, it's not working out very well for him, but...
Anyway, to quote Protoss News, the overarching narrative that Craig Wright has repeated in court this month is that he believes someone framed him. Innumerable suspicious events in Wright's life can... Innumerable suspicious events in Wright's life can be explained, he claims, by recognizing that his enemies have planted evidence, sabotaged his security, accessed his computer systems, failed to fulfill their promises, and even sent emails on his behalf.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Those enemies, if I remember correctly, include former colleagues, former people he worked for.
Include James Rayner and Sarah Kerrigan.
I mean, you're not far off because, again, via Protoss News, it could also not be one person, but multiple people. Quote, Craig Wright still protests his innocence by claiming that other people, via Reddit, forum, emails, unauthorized computer access, or otherwise, forged his computer files to frame him as a cheater. So
imagine being such an annoying poster that someone hacks your computer so that they can forge a bunch of like Bitcoin documents that you then submit to courts.
Enough about how I got banned from the forums. Let's move on.
We will never move on, James.
Anyway, that is all about.
Episode's like it's got strong GBS energy. It's very like this is something awful. Circa
You
the
fucking
time
call
he's
me
claiming he
GBS
made.
again, motherfucker. We're gonna have some problems.
Oh, sorry. So, right, okay, yeah.
Get their ass.
I wasn't actually calling you GBS, Rob. You would not be GBS. You'd be God. What forum would you be? Probably debate and discussion.
164,000 pages of evidence locked. Fucking thread, etc., yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine carrying your printer over for that. Anyway, that is about all I have to tell you about this. I should stress, by the way, that the trial continues and the outcome isn't seen yet. We may get that towards the end of the month. So by the end of the month, we may find out whether or not one Australian man is indeed the inventor of Bitcoin or not.
This time next month, we'll be covering how he actually invented ChatGPT and entered into evidence a ChatGPT that he trained to call him daddy.
A printout from Character AI that you yourself have done is not evidence. But it called me daddy, yes, and that's incredibly disturbing. Denied.
Where do you think you got those 164,000 pages of evidence?
Well, they were just in the attic. That's where I
Lawrence
keep my
Fox?
evidence.
That's just beef between him and the mods that banned him for the forum.
Yeah.
That's his Dear Richard letter.
164,000 pages of sass.
Anyway, that is about all I hope you enjoyed our, infrequent foray into the world of just like dudes rocking. Just that's all that this is. Just
yeah. I have had the time of my life.
I do love a dipshit safari.
Do you know,
anyway,
if he does end up
do
getting
we have
all the money...
We do have commentary, but go on, James.
I was going to say, if he does end up getting all the money, do we have to kind of revisit this topic and like give him credit? And
no.
If it turns out that the court decides that he is Satoshi, I might actually apologize on this podcast, but I very much doubt that I'll have to.
Locked in.
Also,
now.
have
all
we
right.
not given him enough credit already? Like, Like, frankly, dragging fucking Jack Dorsey into court with this level of fucking horseshit is just great. It's fantastic crap.
Yeah.
Carry on then, mate.
I mean, it is profoundly let them fight.jpg energy. Like, it...
Yeah.
Yeah, all hail the founder of Winamp. Cool. All right.
Right. Staff are told not to interfere or do anything, and it's rare that a shoplifter is stopped or that there's retaliation against offenders. Think of what would have happened years ago. Shop staff would likely take action, public-spirited people would get involved. Not anymore, except in a welcome few cases, generally in independent convenience stores and corner shops. Is that comment or commentary?
Comment.
Commentariat.
Commentariat.
That was a comment in the Express.
It's really good when people just form lynch mobs to go after somebody stealing baby formula.
Yeah.
It's not even,
What's wrong with the world today is nobody batters shoplifters in public anymore.
I
Yeah, like,
am
it's this-
always saying
Used to be in the good old days that someone would shout "World Star."
Like, imagine being like, because these people think that like shop employees as well, right, should like tackle shoplifters for some fucking reason. It's like, if these people are getting paid minimum wage, like, leave them alone.
Yeah, why would you? Like, honestly.
Oh, the article that was attached to was by Treasure Island Dizzy himself, and there was a bit in there about how they're like, Tesco are going to give their workers body cams, but what's the point if the police won't even look at the footage?
Oh, fuck off.
You know what I mean? Just go outside, egg, quite frankly. Anyway. Oh, yeah. Sir Keir, whose favourite tune is Ode to Joy, the EU national anthem, would have us back in the EU through the front or back door in a heartbeat. Is that comment or commentariat?
Commentariat.
Yeah, I'm going to say
Commentariat.
commentariat as well. That's some Express shit right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say comment on that one.
That was not just commentariat. That was Common Sense Minister Esther McVeigh in the Express.
Fuck me.
In a column titled "Socialist Madness Over 4-Day Week is Catching On."
Where was it? Where was the column?
In the Express.
Ah, yeah, there we go. Okay.
Oh.
Shopkeepers will have to ask fully grown adults for ID to prove they are the right age or potentially face criminal charges. This will undoubtedly lead to more violence against local shopkeepers, which is already at record levels. Is that comment or commentariat?
That's
Comment.
quite hard, actually.
Commentariat.
So- Dare I even ask why shopkeepers have to ask for age? Is this like about vaping or something, I guess?
You can ask after you've told me whether it's comment or commentariat.
Oh, I want to know now. It's comment.
I'm going to go commentariat.
That was Ian Paisley Jr. MP in the Express in a column titled "Rishi Sunak's generational smoking ban could lead to violence against shopkeepers." The Noel Coward Theatre will host 2 so-called blackout performances of its 2-month run of slave play about race, identity, and sexuality in 21st century America. Why? So its all-black identifying audience can watch the story free from the white gaze. You literally couldn't make it up. Is that comment or commentariat?
Oh.
Read that last part again, sorry. I think my mind just broke on
You
it.
literally couldn't make it up?
No, the bit before that, like, lean into that.
The penultimate part.
So its all-black identifying audience can watch the story free from the white gaze?
Right, okay.
What the gays
Z-E, not Y-S.
Yeah.
No, I got that on the retake, just still. Right,
Oh, that is... that's commentariat.
it feels like commentariat.
It feels like Rod Little or Richard Littlejohn.
Rod Little, maybe, I think.
Alistair?
Commentariat.
Yeah, that was James Whale. We cannot allow the woke to bring back racism.
Go back
That was
to
also-
Wikipedia, you prick.
That was also in the Express.
Just a gold mine today, huh?
Yeah, well, I couldn't be asked to go to 2 sites, so... Spoiler alert for where I got the last one. My cousin is self-employed in the retail sector. Her shop is open 7 days and she mans it herself. It's a happy and healthy way of life and not many financial worries. What's not to like? No time for alcohol or cigarettes or television. Is that comment or commentariat?
Comment.
That sounds depressing as fuck.
That sounds like a comment.
Yeah, comment.
Comment.
Yeah, that was a comment on Common Sense Minister Esther McVeigh's thing about the 4-day week.
For fuck's sake.
What we need is the 7-day week, you see? Because it stops you from smoking.
I wonder what the bodybuilding forums have to say about this.
But we definitely don't want to stop people from smoking is a generational smoking ban or whatever the fuck Rishi Sunak was doing. Because that would just lead to violence against shopkeepers.
There's nothing that makes me want to smoke less than being really overworked and stressed out. That's the time when I feel like I don't need nicotine right now. It would be bad for me, actually.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh.
But yeah, that's your lot. Next week I might go to the Times or something instead. But
Ooh. Ambassador, you spoilers. Oh, well, thank you very much for the comment or commentary, Jamie, and thank you very much for the Guy
You are
Safari,
quite welcome.
Rob. I didn't feel it, don't worry. Okay, we will be back next week with another episode. Until then, you can get bonuses at patreon.com/praxiscast for the princely sum of £5. There are over 40 episodes that are sitting in the backlog
5
there.
English pounds, no less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hours of fun
None of
to be
your
had.
foreign muck.
Hours and hours of it. So, yeah, join us there. The Twitch streams, I was hoping to be back on that this week. It will probably be another fortnight from now, unfortunately. So just keep your eyes peeled on the Blue Sky and stuff. We'll announce it on the day. And if you're a patron, then you'll find out on the Discord, which is much quicker and better, and you should be in there anyway. And merch available, praxiscast.tmail.com. Get yourself a t-shirt or 3.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
more. Why are you only wearing 3 at the same time, coward?
Yeah. Wear layers, hide more shame.
Retain your moisture that you might recycle it.
Yes, yes.
Yes, still suit brand, Praxis Cast branded still suit coming soon.
Well, no, but we can do postcards now if anyone has any demand for them, or on greetings
there you
cards.
go.
If you want to wish someone a very happy podcast birthday,
Yeah.
I guess.
If you need to send someone a graduation card with a peanut on it, but also our logo, hit us up.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
graduation card with a pyramid bar on it. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes, there you go. Can we do some labourish looking ones with the PASOK stuff on it?
Probably.
Just so you can just mail it out just during the election season. Why not? No one can stop you. The Electoral Commission isn't real.
That's a good scam, actually. That, David. Like we put some cheap postcards up and we convince people that
Vote tactically.
Cool.
Oh boy.
Rob,
mycrimes.mp3.
yeah, cool. Rob losing the losing the fucking throne of most things we need fucking beeped out in this episode. So good job, Jamie.
I'm here to
Cool.
help.
I know.
All right.
don't
Bye,
believe you.
everybody.
Yeah, belabeled
See
this
ya.
long enough. Bye.
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 Bye.